Hi, I'm Michelle Calarco, contributor to Greenwich Magazine. I'm thrilled to be joined by Allan Houston, New York Knicks legend, two-time NBA All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, and key figure in the team's memorable 1999 finals run. He's also a father, businessman, philanthropist, and longtime Greenwich resident who continues to develop players through his work with the Knicks and his social impact brand, Fissile. With the Knicks back in the spotlight and the NBA Finals stirring memories of 1999, it seems like the perfect time for a chat. Thank you for joining us here at the Village, Allan.
Thank you for having me. This is a great setup.
Sure is. All right, we're gonna get right to it.
Okay.
Knicks in 5, 6, or 7?
The only number is 4. That's all that matters. That's all
Love
that
it.
matters.
So talk to us a little bit about this team and your involvement, which has been so instrumental. What are these players getting right that most people watching from the outside may not see?
They are very focused. The staff, everyone has done, I think, an incredible job just preparing for a time such as this. I've been very fortunate, to have gone through this 27 years ago. But even before 1999, we had a few trips, literally and figuratively, to getting to that point. So no one just gets there and all just pops up on the scene. There's a lot of build-up, a lot of preparation, a lot of losses, a lot of wins, a lot of pain, a lot of joy. But when you get to that moment, it's about really discipline and execution. And I think this year they have they've weathered the storm. They went through, as any team does to get to this point, a lot of ups and downs, but they stuck together. They've had some times where they had to sit and talk and figure things out. Fortunately, we've been healthy. I think the coaching staff has done a really good job of preparing them. And, you can't say enough about the character and the leadership and the talent of the guys. They really are sacrificing, for each other. I think Coach Brown has put some core values and tenets up, and they're not just sitting on the wall, right? They're living and moving and breathing in the players.
So you know this well, New York can either chew you up or make you a legend. What separates the players who thrive here from the ones who don't?
I think for me, my foundation from my upbringing, from my faith, all those really helped me when I got here. And when I see players that come in here and they have that, it helps. And you have to have a strong support system, not just from off the court, but you have to have good leadership. You have to have, and character is thrown around a lot in terms of just behavior, but it's more than just behavior.
Yeah, talk to us. What does character actually mean in this context?
I think it's being able to endure tough times, have a perspective, keep things in perspective. This is a town that when you do something well, they lift you up really high, and when you don't, they throw you down. But it's the they that you can't put stock into, right? It's coming, just being focused every day on your task, your goals, and your purpose. And that was really my mindset, is this is bigger than me. I'm responsible for something more than just me. And it really comes down to consistency, discipline and consistency. I think those are the things that really help here. And just being mindful of the task, but being smart too. Right? I've been able to spend times with some of the players from the teams that have won championships here, and a lot of them talk about the level of thinking that goes into not just the game but life. Right? They're well-rounded people that just think about other things, not just basketball, and they care about the community. They care about the well-being of others. They care about just developing themselves, and I think that means a lot, you know, to being here.
So let's take it back a bit to 1999 when you faced 22-year-old phenom and Tim Duncan, right? These Knicks face another in Victor Wembanyama. What challenge do you think, kind of challenge do you think he presents that the average basketball fan may not realize or know?
Well, good question. I think you have to stick to your principles, what you do really well. When you get to this point, every team and certain individuals are going to provide a certain challenge, matchup. But I think what this team has been able to do is establish an identity of doing something and doing it really, really well and doing it really consistently. So it's going to be the same, you know, with this team. You know, the Spurs they present a different challenge than the other teams. But I think what gets you to this point is you're able to, it's a chess match, right? You say, okay, I have to play this piece this way, but my queen is still my queen. You know what I mean? My king is still my king. I just have to figure out how to use it in a certain way. And when you have a talented group that really works hard and plays together, you have to learn how to use your versatility, but your stability together. And I think that's really what it will come down to. I mean, again, I can't say enough about, you know, being healthy.
Yeah.
Right? I think the rest, people have been asking me like, oh, would you rather, you know, have 6 days off or 9 days off, or would you rather play? I'm like, you rather be healthy.
Yeah.
You know, you rather do that. The games become so fast and furious, they're going to be so physical and demanding. You want to be your best physically, mentally, spiritually going into them.
So speaking of health, what does that mean when you say to these players, you got to be healthy? You talked a little bit about not only the physical aspect, but the mental aspect.
Well, they're our lives and all of our lives, but especially when they're at this point, are guided by being healthy, right? This is the most you're going to put into your career. It's the most energy you're going to spend in one concentrated moment in your entire career. It's the biggest stage. So the mental, you know, health, the focus, you know, that you need, obviously being in the best shape of your life, being the sharpest you've been in your life. This is that moment. This is what the moment you prepare for all your life. And when you're training and you're tired and you're ready to throw up and you can't do it anymore, this is what you're doing it for. But the spiritual part is really important, because I like to talk about how they all line up together, right? The physical, the mental, and the spiritual. And the reason is because you also have to keep things in perspective of why you're even doing this and what it means, right? The reason that you're doing it for yourself, the reason you're doing it for someone else, but also the reason you're doing it for, I believe, God who gave you the gift in the first place, right? So the thing that we talk about is that this moment is bigger than ourselves. I can see it from both sides now, because when you're in it, you don't realize how it's impacting other people, even your own family. You just don't. You just have to be so locked in and so in it. But now I can look back, and sometimes I feel like a fan. Sometimes I feel like a family member to them. Sometimes I feel like I am them because I've experienced it. So I have a lot of different emotions and perspectives right now. And so, but my most important one is being in the present.
Yeah.
You know, people have been congratulating me. I'm like, don't congratulate me yet, but I'm not doing anything anymore, you know, but I understand that, you know, the perception is I'm part of this, and I am, but I also realize that as a player, you're just locked in on the next second, the next moment, the next possession, the next thing that even makes this possession work. And that's all you're really focused on. And the more you do that well, the better you give yourself a chance to win. And then after the game, you have to have another healthy view and perspective. You can't beat yourself up. You can't get too high. You have to just, a friend of mine calls it balls and strikes. You know, you just stay right there and you learn. So the reason I say they all have to be lined up is because if your mind and your spirit are kind of drifting, you're not going to give your body its best chance to have success. And I think that's what's important to me. What's important to me is that I found that when everything was lined up, that's when I was at my best. And I want to figure out how I can, calibrate that, the best I can.
Yeah. If social media existed in 1999, would Allan Houston have enjoyed it or hated it?
I would probably disliked it more. I don't know if I would have said hated it, but I would have disliked it more because, again, I don't think it's natural for us to get so high and so low on the inside.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it does to us, Yeah. And I think it's a battle. It's a real fight. And it's like we're in this boat and we're riding this boat and we're just going with whatever the waves tell us, how the waves tell us to go. Mm-hmm. And how do we stabilize the boat to say, no, I'm going to be this way no matter what the water's doing. And that's why I probably would have, you got to try to enjoy the ride, but you don't want to get tossed, while you're in it. And I think social media makes you do that because that's the nature of it. The nature of social media is to make you go a certain way. Otherwise it's, it's not built for you to just have a very stable and focused perspective. It's built for you to have a wide range of emotions and views. And I think we get in there and we just go for the ride. And that's not what's healthy for us.
Let's talk a little bit about player development, because you've gone from a player to a mentor. So when a young player walks into the Knicks organization today, what's the lesson you wish someone had taught you at 22?
Well, I think it's not just when a player walks into the organization. I think it's when anyone is part of the organization. It's what can the organization represent and do to help you while you're a member of this family be the best you can be. And so my first thing is looking at my perspective from when I was a player to where I am now as a husband, as a father of 7. How can I take all what I've experienced and kind of put it on the table like this glass of water and say, hey, it's here. It's here, right? And if you want, we can sit and drink together, or and I just, for me, it's like offering what I've experienced to anyone, and that's really what I see my first offer and responsibility is. And my job and nuance is to figure out who wants it, who doesn't, and if they do, how to offer it and how much. And so it's really that simple and plain to me. And there are intentional ways we do it. Sometimes we sit in a room and we chop it up. And sometimes it's I see something specific, and because a player or a coach knows I've been there, I don't take it for granted, but also I'm very careful and responsible with it because I tell, Mike, Coach Brown, like my job is to almost be aligned. See, alignment is so important, right? In any relationship, any hierarchy of organization, my wife and I talk about an alignment a lot. Like, so if I'm not aligned with what the leadership is saying, then it's not productive or functional or healthy for the player. I can have my perspective, but it still has to be aligned with what we're all saying and doing. And I think that's where a lot of organizations and cultures miss, because I could be a person of influence in that organization and have my perspective and my viewpoint and not care if it's being aligned with the people above me.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the people above me, they don't have a perspective or viewpoint or principle that is determining alignment. So for me, that's a big word, because it's gonna make sure, and people are be on the same page. Well, yes, that's true, but like that's not, can't just throw that out there. It takes a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, you got to define that page. So that leads me to some of your work with Fissel, and I want to get into an exciting development that you shared today, which is the launch of Team Fissel. More to come on that this summer, but would love for you to preview that a bit with us and what you have in the works.
Well, Fizzle, I mean, everything that we've talked about is Fizzle, right?
Yeah.
Because I first say Fizzle, people have never heard of Fizzle before. I mean, first of all, Fizzle is an acronym for faith, integrity, sacrifice, leadership, and legacy. And these are 5 core principles that I was given by my parents, by people who trained me, led me, taught me. But most importantly, I talk about my father, but also talk about my heavenly Father as a person of faith. I really want to highlight, a mindset that we need. Like, we all need a mindset for success. And when you first hear that, you're like, yeah, we do. But what is success? What is that, right? And I think we first have to look at success in its macro, and not just like, oh, you won a championship or you made it to this status. It is about purpose. It is about understanding the fulfillment of your role, what you're here to do. And so the mindset that it takes to have that viewpoint, because you hear me probably talk about perspective a lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot is about perspective, a lot about is your mindset, because it's the way you operate in the world. If I don't operate the right way, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do.
It's everything.
Right? So Fizzle is about how I and people who I impact can get to that point, right? And earlier we talked about a navigation system. We need a way.
Yeah,
a way to get there, roadmap. Yeah. That's what it is. And so the roadmap has to be used, and who is it used by? And that's really where, if you develop a playbook, a system, then that's really what I've been given. And now for my job, after having a family, a big family, and being in this role of leadership, if I'm not here anymore, I think now people know what mattered to me. When I'm gone, they'll say, that's what mattered to him. I want to take that and use that. And I think that's really what fulfills me now, is that I have something very valuable that works, that I know if people use it, it's going to work. And now it's about who I'm going to give it to, who wants it, and what the result is. What
lessons from basketball do you think have proven valuable in business, in life, in Fissel? What lessons from your time playing?
It's these 5 words, these lessons. I mean, because who are you? So part of Fizzle, we have a thing called the starting 5. 5 questions. First of all, who are you? And that speaks to identity and faith, right? Where are you? Well, that speaks to your behavior, character. Like, where are you in your mindset? Where do you see yourself, and where are you going? That speaks to sacrifice. What are you really willing to do to be your best? How will you get there? How are we going to get there? All right, now it's like, who's going to help me, and what is the plan, and then why am I here? So, like, those 5 questions, I would say, are the lessons within themselves to try to figure that out, to try to discover that. If you're a person, you're a team, you're an organization, or a couple, right? You can ask those 5 questions and be like, okay, you need. If I know as a player, there's a timeout. Let's take the shot that people remind me of all the time, 99 and 1999.
Oh, yeah.
Game 5 of that first round that got us to the finals. Let's take that play. Didn't have a timeout. We lost our timeout, and so it was a broken play. Now, in that moment, you can say, oh, shoot, what am I going to do? Or you can go back to what you prepared for. And I know where I was supposed to be. Patrick Ewing knew where he was supposed to be. Spree knew where he was supposed to be. And we executed.
Yeah.
Charlie Ward made a great pass, and I was fortunate enough to make the shot. I could have missed the shot. But in that moment, we were prepared to give ourselves the best chance for success. And so I think, how can we know that? And so the lessons for me that I learned throughout my life in basketball are wrapped up in these questions, these words, because it's everything. And that's why when people ask me about this moment, going into the NBA Finals for an opportunity for one of the biggest historical moments in sports, not just New York, right?
No.
It comes down to discipline. It comes down to execution at this point, because you don't get to this point unless you have prepared and allowed yourself to be with the right people, the right leadership. So, okay, now let's just go. Let's just go. And I want. So Team Fizzle is about helping people who are helping young people, influencing the influencers, right? So we have a lot of influencers, but we use that word to say an influencer is someone who just has a followers and influencing people, but we don't talk about how they're influencing them, right? So to me, the key word is how. We're going to keep having influencers, but how are they influencing people?
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to me, is how we can play our role to influencing people the right way.
I want to talk to you a little bit about fatherhood. You and Tammy have 7 children, as you mentioned. How has fatherhood changed the way you look at success?
When you become a father, you see your role so differently. You automatically understand, wow, now I'm responsible for another life. I brought another life into this world, obviously with the help of God, the Father, but I'm now responsible. So there's a level of responsibility that hits you like a ton of bricks. And you think, okay, how am I prepared for this? You're never really fully prepared for it, because that's life, right? But I got to go get some tools and get some people to talk to that's been through this. So now I always saw my responsibility kind of as a person, as a leader, one way, but it just amplified, exponentially when you become a father. Then you become a father of 7. I find how much love and joy that's possible, right? And that's really kind of the way I look at it. Tammy, needless to say, is an incredible, not just person, but leader, but builder. When you talk about building culture, like, it's incredible. She's the one that actually should be talking about all this, because when you're coaching a team, you're going to be with that player, and then you're still going to be impactful in their life, but you're not going to be their mother or father, biologically. You will be a figure in their life forever, but they're not yours biologically. And I think she has, I don't know, she's just amazing at how she's managed relationships. We had a recent graduation. My father-in-law called me after. He's like, man, kudos to you and Tammy. All your kids are different.
Aww.
And he didn't finish that statement, but I think I knew what he meant. He meant they're all different, but they all are under a banner. They're under a banner of love. And I think just we call it the banner of Christ. Like, we know that it's not us. It's just how the person of God and his love is, we want it to just flow through us, because they are now, they're adults, they're young adults, and they're their own. Like, you gotta get to the point where, like, well, I can't really tell you what to do. I can guide you.
Yeah.
Are they willing and able to make these decisions on their own, as if they're doing it in the same way we would tell them what to do? That makes sense.
It does.
And that's the part of it that that's coaching. It's coaching as well, but it's fun, because I find that this whole conversation still centers around the same thing. I want them to have the same Fizzle mindset. I want them to have these principles. I want them to know what they are. I want them to carry them into their relationships. I want them to carry them into their purpose. And like, they're on teams. Like, we have a lot of young people coming in and out of our house. They're friends, their relationships. They're going to work. So it's one big community, really. But they have to be the influencers in their own community, and that's what we're trying to influence.
For parents of young athletes, if you had to tell them just one thing that would impact or shape their future, what would that one thing be?
Be very intentional on establishing the culture. I think as time goes on, let's go back to the boat analogy. As time has gone on, the waves have gotten stronger and stronger. You're right. Social media, the world, the politics. AI. Great
Changing
example.
the world. Yeah.
So the waves around our boat are getting stronger and stronger, and we feel like they're going to tip us over. I think at home is the main place you have to stabilize the boat and make sure that, yes, there are a lot of waves and everything that's going on outside of us and around us is strong, but we're not going to let that affect who we are going to be inside this boat. And I think it's really, really hard. And as they get older, it's harder. Guys, I know, like, my kids will say, man, y'all are so different than it was for me when I was 10 years old. But that's life. But that's why it's even more important, I think, to be very diligent. And kids call it strict, but you have to be. You have to be, but you can't be strict if you don't know what you're going to be strict on. I think so. I think a lot of parents, we want to be strict, but we don't know what we want to be strict on. So I think that's the part that go back to alignment, right? So I tell a lot of young couples, that are in relationships that are going into deeper relationships, you have to be aligned.
Yeah.
Because guess what? When it gets really hard,
When the waters get really rough.
the water gets really rough,
Those
man,
waves.
and then you're like, no, we need to go that way, and you're like, no, we need to go that way. It's tough.
Yeah. It's good input. It's good advice.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about health earlier, and curious, what does taking care of yourself look like now compared to your playing days for
I'm
you
older.
personally?
I can't do the same stuff, I walk more. I didn't really care about walking as much. I
Get your
appreciate just
steps
walking.
in every day?
Yeah, I have to.
You have a number you try to hit every day?
No, I don't hit a number. I'll walk sometimes and not really have a number I'm trying to get to. I'll walk sometimes. Like the other day, I walked. I just like, I'm gonna walk. I don't even care how long I'm gonna walk. And I ended up walking for like an hour and a half. It could have been 2 hours. And sometimes I'll walk for 30 minutes.
Anywhere locally you like to go to walk?
Well, we live kind of like in the back towards Bedford, on the border of Greenwich and Bedford. So there's a lot of walking back there. In Tarrytown, there's a trail by the Knicks practice facility.
Yeah.
When we go on the road, some of our staff will go walking after a team brunch. So that has really come after. God has been God's been good. My father and I had a prostate cancer diagnosis, and coming out of that, I really appreciated walking even more, because when you can't walk, period.
Yeah.
You appreciate when you can get back to walking. Right. I think that I get up in the morning and I need to sleep more and get to bed earlier. So I've tried to get naps in, because if you just, it's not realistic sometimes for me to go to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock, especially during the season. So in the off season, I try to go to bed a little bit earlier, but naps are important. I've always been pretty decent on diet. I have a nice morning meal supplement and shake. That helps set my digestive stuff up.
The tone for the day.
Yeah, and so I think setting a good foundation for the day is really important for me. Like getting up, getting some reflection, some reading time. I'll get some Bible devotion time. Even if it's short, just have something to kind of calibrate the inner, man, as we say. Right. And I probably could do a little bit better with my physical exertion. You know what I mean? Like I want to get my heart rate up a little bit more. But other than that, I think health is, like I said, it's everything. It's not just going to pumping muscles, right? It's everything. And I think for men, we're understanding more that taking care of our mental and spiritual health. I think we're understanding more that we don't have to be this guy that holds stuff in, that blocks stuff out. I mean, we got to block it out, but there's a certain way you have to do that. And again, like going back to the media, like I just got to be careful about what we're consuming, what we're watching, what we're taking in. I think that's huge, right? Because again, how you think is everything.
Let's talk a little about Greenwich. So you've been here 20 years. Did you move here
Longer.
in 2000?
Since 96.
Wow, 30 years?
Yeah.
30 years of Greenwich.
It'll be 30 this fall.
Oh my God. You could have lived anywhere. Why Greenwich?
Well, at the time when I signed with the Knicks, it was the place that they recommended, I think, from a privacy, space, real estate, resale value, because you didn't know how long you're going to be here.
Yeah.
So all those things, and then location, because at the time we were training on the board of purchase. So, yeah, it became, it just became a place that, and then you get into a routine, you get into a place that you're familiar with and you're comfortable with. And then when we had our children, you become part of the community. And
what has
then
this
it's about
community
people.
meant to you over the years, raising 7 kids here?
I would say more safety and security. You know, traveling, you want to make sure your family's safe and, in a good place. We've met some really cool people. I think who you are is really going to determine who you're around.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about the people, because if I feel like we are centered in who we want to be, then we'll attract the people who,
that's right.
And vice versa, right? So it was really more about, for me, it was really about making sure that my wife and the kids were in a place that, they were comfortable and
could thrive
and say, could thrive and be where they need to be.
What do you love about living here?
I think that the fact that my kids have grown up in this area. They have access to New York, Westchester. Yeah. Now our kids go to school up in Fairfield, Notre Dame Prep. So we've been able to see like the New York to all the way up to Fairfield, that corridor. We've been kind of from sports to activities. So it's been good to, we feel like we have really had the East Coast experience. Growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, and Tammy growing up in Michigan. Yeah. She has been more of an East Coaster than I have, because she grew up, her mother's from Teaneck, New Jersey.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So I think just now really being a part of this whole, tri-state East Coast family is kind of been, for, again, 30 years. It's crazy to say that.
So we gotta ask, what are your go-tos around here? Go-to restaurant? I've seen you and Tammy out for date night on the Avenue before. What's your go-to dinner spot?
Dinner spot. We're between, we're in Bedford some. There's some spots in Bedford. Greenwich Avenue, obviously, you got the Mikus of the world, the Orientas of the world. We used to go over to Valbella a lot, Popo.
Yeah.
We've been around a long time, so it's like we've seen some shifts. We used to go over to Boxcar Cantina. That used to be the go-to spot.
With little kids.
That's spot. Like the little kid spot. So we've, now we go up sometimes up in the Westport area because we got to go up Norwalk area.
Go to Fairfield.
Sometimes we're up there because Tammy and I we have to do impromptu, like let's go get a little appetizer and a drink, and so it's been good. Like that's one of the things I do like about the area.
So a few rapid fire questions to wrap this up. Current athlete you stop what you're doing to watch.
Does it have to be current?
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson.
Or what about not current?
Muhammad Ali.
Oh. Good answer.
Yeah.
Most underrated Knick of all time.
Ooh. I would say LJ. I was going to say Spree, but I think people really appreciate Spree's game. I would say Larry Johnson.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Trust God. It's simple. Yeah, just trust God.
But powerful.
Yeah.
And one thing people would be surprised to know about you.
Oh, man.
Put you on the spot.
You probably have to ask my kids that one, because or Tammy, they think I'm just so, probably that my kids think I'm very strange. Yeah, like, because I just have a weird sense of humor. Like, I feel like I try to keep my kids off guard with a weird sense of humor. Like, I just do, like, I might just go home and just go knock on their door and just like run, out of the room and whistle. And then when they come out, they won't see me. I just try to keep, because I'm not around all the time, and we get like these sporadic, quick moments. And when I'm with them, I try to make it as meaningful as possible, memorable.
Yeah.
And try to keep it light, because they know they're gonna get a lesson. They're gonna get a lot of talking a lot too. So I try to balance you got that coach that just like, oh man, here he goes again. He's just like, so I try to be mindful of that, but at the same time, like, if I'm on the move or moving, a lot of kids, they're doing a move, I try to, something that, is not bland in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I a lot of times it's gotta be something either very strange or funny. And so I try
practical jokester
something,
over here.
yeah, something. So I probably that a very strange and funny way about me when I'm around.
I love that. Is there anything we didn't cover today that you want to share?
No, I mean, I think people probably who care and they look at, I'm kind of private, I feel like I'm kind of private, like I could be, and I think people may not see the hard times that, we all go through. And I'm just grateful, I have a little gratitude journal that I'm giving you guys, but I think that's because gratitude is a mindset, and I'm grateful because of the way I think. I have a tendency to push a lot of things out. So a lot of things that I've been through, I just don't even remember because I'm really good at trying to stay in the present and staying in the near future. And so sometimes people remind me of things that happen. I'm like, I don't even remember that.
So when you say hard times, you mean some of the ups and downs you've been through personally? Injury, retirement, unsure, like, cancer diagnosis, if you're married for 30 years, you're going to go through some stuff. Sure.
Family. And so I think that's why, again, your faith and your foundation is so important, because it's like sports. You're going to go through an injury. I tell people, you're going to go through an injury. You're going to go through a tough loss. Sports is such a great metaphor for life, right? When we beat Cleveland, their management team came over to us, and it's typical. Nobody ever talks about this. You're getting something that nobody gets.
Give us the dirt.
So it's typical for a management of the team to come after you beat them, say, "Hey, congrats, you did it." Especially if you're, no matter where you are, "Hey, congrats, go get them next series." And nobody knows that that's something that happens. When we lost to Indiana, our management team went to them and they said, "Man, you know what? Appreciate you doing that. That means a lot." It's just, you should do it.
Respect.
It's respect. So they came, did that to us. And when they did it, you do it with grace, because no matter if you win it, there's going to be another season where you're going to have to go down that hall.
That's right.
And do that again. And that's just what happens. So that's life. So when they came and congratulated us, I thought about, man, we did that same thing last year to Indiana. Right? And I what made me just think about that is everybody's going to have their moment of elation. They're going to have their moment of the other side. You just have to know that it's going to happen. but it's not gonna last. It's not, it's not. That's gonna be this great moment. It's gonna be over soon, and the low moment is gonna be over as well, right? So that's why. That's why when I go back to the hard times, you just have to know they're temporary.
This too shall pass, right?
That's right. That's right.
Last question for you. Any memory from your era, good or bad, that the fans may not know about?
Well, guys used to come over to our house. Tammy and I, we used to have guys over to the house. We used to hang out on the road. We were a tight team, and we were tight. And Charlie was like a mentor to Charlie Ward. Was like a spiritual mentor to me, and he had a big impact. And so, guys would come over to the house. And they might have a drink, and they see Charlie, like, my bad, Charlie, I'm about to finish this, and Charlie like, man, or they might say something, but he had such an impact of respect, right? But that didn't prevent us from hanging out together, right, and loving each other, and being together, and I think just to say, like, the reason that comes up is because you can have tight family, tight community, but people can still respect who you are, and out of love, you can still respect someone else's way, and still not sacrifice who you are. And I feel like that's really what was cool about who we were.
Thank you so much for the time today, Allan, and let's go Knicks.
Let's go. That's like, I like you got the orange.
Yeah.
You ready? She's ready.
You know that was intentional.